G'day, mate. Welcome to Friday Facts 354. We got a launch party, we got a high resolution power switch, and I have a turned on mojo. Hey, you mate.
Hi.
You're wide awake at 10:30 at night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So
It's early FFF.
it is an early FFF, which means I've caught you post stream so we can get this done. Which means we get it out nice and quickly. Which means I get to sleep in on a Saturday morning because that's really important.
And you actually get it out on an Australian Friday.
Probably not after rendering time and everything. It'll be early Saturday, but you know, you can't win them all.
Still ahead of the curve.
Yeah, ahead of the curve. I think the only way we get them out on a Friday is if it's like at an 8 p.m. Friday Facts, which is like, what, super early first thing Friday morning in European time?
It's like, that's, I think that's like 10 a.m. over there.
Yeah, 9 or 10 a.m. If they're in the office first thing in the morning, they click publish. That's the only time we actually get it out super early. And we got to have the time zones in the right period, so it's not 10 hours between us. It's only 8 hours between, check and here. And yeah. Anyway, so we've got a launch party. We got a launch party coming up. Celebrate launch of the game later this summer. They say later this summer. It's 6 weeks away. It's really close.
It's almost here.
Yeah, it's... Like I said, like we've been saying for a while, they've got a lot to do in 6 weeks. And, I was chatting to one of the devs, and they're definitely under the gun. There is a lot of things that they're trying to tick off. And there is down here in the Friday Facts, there's a power switch that they had to finally tick off as well. But yeah, they're going to do a launch party. Same as they did for their 1 million sale party back in Friday Facts 192, which is what? That's not that long ago. Oh, actually,
No, it isn't.
It is, because each year is 52 Friday Facts, so it's like a year and a half ago. But then again, they've done another million sales since. So, yeah, I'm waiting to see what happens in 6 weeks' time. I'm really thinking that, the what is it? The second highest rated game on Steam finally exits early access. Yeah. I can see a sale or two happening. Anyway, well, no sales because Factorio doesn't do sales. On a side note, completely unrelated side note, currently Factorio is technically on sale, and I do want to cover this because Steam is offering you I think it's a $5 discount on any game that's $30 or more. And Factorio is exactly $30. It's not $29.99, it's $30. So technically Factorio is $5 off, courtesy of Steam currently.
Yeah, with the Steam summer sale.
It's currently the only sale for Factorio, and true to their word, I figured it'll probably be the only sale ever for Factorio.
Well, it's not even run by them. Realistically, it's just
it's
a coupon redemption.
It's a coupon redemption by Steam, yeah. So
Steam eats the difference.
They eat the $5, which, look, you can't argue it. It's $5 off Factorio. It's the only sale you'll ever see. And more importantly, Steam's footing the bill rather than Woob themselves. So take it. If you haven't bought Factorio at this point, buy it now. But yeah, they do say they're inviting a lot of people to the party, such as other Czech game developers, YouTubers, and of course they'll be there. As we want you, the fans, to be able to come, we have some tickets for sale. The reason to sell them rather than give them away is so we don't have messes saying they will come when they don't intend to, so we can buy a ticket here. The tickets are $20 from memory. So
$20 or 20 euros?
20 euros? I haven't even looked. Blah, 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 blah. Buy a ticket. $20.
Oh, $20, there you
go. Yeah, they do say that they might have to cancel the event on the order page, because we do have COVID currently, and who knows?
Oh, not according to the Czechs, though, because they just had a farewell party.
Yeah, they had a farewell party for the pandemic, which they have actually linked to, and it's hilarious. I went through. They got pretty pictures. Basically, they lined up like a 500-meter long table across a bridge, and had everybody sit down and have what looks like early afternoon lunch together. Just going by the sunlight. So yeah. And I love this. The Czech Republic was quick to enforce lockdown and managed to avoid the worst of the pandemic. Last week, the government permitted public gatherings up to 1,000 people. Swimming pools, museums, zoos, and castles are now open without limits on the number of visitors. Restaurants, bars, and pubs have been allowed to serve people indoor for a month now. Which brings us to, as me and Mojo were talking about beforehand, the pandemic here. I'm in a situation where for a month now, a month actually, we've had pubs, bars, clubs, and all those sorts of things are open. And Mojo, I hear you're in a bit of a lockdown again.
Yeah, the scummy suburbs are where all the bogans live.
Yeah, so Mojo's in lockdown because he's in a bogan suburb, obviously.
Sure.
Yeah. So we worked it out. We're about 10 hours drive away from one another, excluding, that the border's closed and a few other small technicalities with
minor inconveniences.
Yeah. Which come to European terms is like 3 countries distance away. But yeah, we're in total different circumstances and we're in the same country. So yes, it might be over for the Czechs. I know, I can't remember who said it. I know somebody was talking about Discord earlier, where in Latvia, they've had no cases for a week. The eastern part of Europe is mostly back to normal. But yeah, other places like, where Mojo lives in the US, things are slightly different currently.
Where else? Like Sweden, I think it was.
Yeah, I think Sweden had an outbreak or something. I don't really follow the international news too much, but yeah. It varies vastly country to country, and of course, like with everything, you don't know what's happening. Like the missus had a work conference that was meant to be in a month's time, and then because Mojo State's gone back to lockdown, they cancelled the conference, which is the exact opposite direction from where Mojo lives. So I'm like in the middle east of Australia, Mojo's in the south, and this conference was in the north, and they cancelled it because the south went to lockdown again. So
even though isn't North effectively Queensland, which means
it's clear.
Oh, they actually sorted themselves out.
As far as I know, they're doing about as well as we are in New South Wales. So there are cases, but it's a low number. It's fairly under control. Blah 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 blah. So yeah, it varies a lot. Country to country, or in our case, state to state.
Yeah. I'm actually expecting Eastern Europe to flare up again.
Yeah, look,
with the next wave.
There's always a chance it could flare up here, there, or everywhere. You just have no idea. I sort of understand why her work conference got cancelled, and then they're already talking about rebooking it for January, and we're like, I just said, like, they have no idea what's going to happen in January. Like, it's still too soon to know. Wait a couple of months, see what happens, and then take it from there. But anyway, on with the rest of the Friday Facts, because we're sidetracked entirely already. We have the high resolution power switch, which is by V and Dom. One of the leftover entities that didn't get a lot of love in the high resolution update yet is the power switch. It's waited this long mostly because we weren't sure about its design and because it's not very frequently used entity. Mojo, when was the last time you used a power switch?
Version 13.
Okay, I've used
version 14 actually.
I've used it more recently. I have used it to turn on and off steam engines rather than turning on and off the pumps. With an accumulator.
You know what's funny is that the power switch was one of the most demanded features before it was released. It was something we were all desperate for, and we had all kinds of weird and wacky ways of working around it.
Back then, we didn't have the circuit network that we have now.
Yeah, because I remember I had a power switch which relied on, it was like a difference engine of steam turbines and accumulators. It was using accumulators to measure something indirectly, and then it used some steam engines to delete some water. It was complicated.
Yeah,
and then it eventually, the end result was that it switched off the water pumps or switched them on again as it need to be.
Yeah, look, I remember that there was always some weird and wacky designs prior to the power switch being implemented, and when it went in, it was one of those, thank gosh, we finally got the damn thing. And then after all of that, we've had the circuit network has been improved and expanded and everything else. Now you can directly turn off your water pumps to...
Well, you've always been able to turn off the water pump, the offshore pumps.
But you can hook them up to an accumulator now.
Yeah, you can always do that too.
I thought the water pump wasn't hooked up to the circuit network to start with.
Oh, yeah, the accumulator, actually, I think that one came in 13 as well. I'm trying to think. No, because my version 12 power switch didn't connect to the accumulators. That's why it needed the steam engines.
Yeah, because
Because it needed to drain the accumulator to do it.
I think as soon as we got it, like accumulators, and we had accumulators and the pump both on the circuit network, it sort of made the power switch redundant. Because I remember using the power switch really, really early on for doing a turning, enabling and disabling the steam engines, and I have a feeling it was because the pump wasn't connected to the steam network, to the circuit network.
Oh, what really killed the power switch was entities which were unpowered
Use
kept
more
using
UPS.
UPS.
Yeah.
And originally actually used more UPS in 13 and 14.
Yeah.
So it was better to not use power switch.
Yeah, so something we found out after the fact, after having a power switch, is every
and
entity.
That's actually why I stopped using it.
Yeah,
in 14.
Every entity that is not being used, is not doing anything, is completely idle, goes into sleep mode. If it's in sleep mode, it basically negates the UPS it uses. Except if you unpower a device. If you unpower a device, it can't go into sleep mode. Because the very first check it does is, do I have power? And then it goes through, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? No, go into sleep mode. If it can't check, do I have power? Then it can never go into sleep mode. And it just keeps checking, do I have power? Do I have power? Do I have power? Which is bad. I do remember it must be my 15 gigabase. I did the same. I had the whole sections of beacons and stuff I put down, but my power network couldn't supply them. So, because...
Oh, yeah, beacons and power used to be really funny too. They used to
beacons.
tank the game.
Yeah, unpowered beacons were really, really bad.
Or even worse was beacons receiving a variable amount of power.
Oh, yeah, that was 1,000 times worse. But I unpowered all mine with power switches whilst I built out solar, because 15 didn't have nuclear yet. So the only choices you were large banks of steam engines.
Well, 15 did introduce nuclear.
Was it 15? No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. But it was super horrible for UPS, wasn't it?
Same as.
No, it's got better, because now they've paralysed everything, and then the heat pipe's got a couple of updates as well that improve things. Anyway, power switches are bad. Anyway, as I said,
it's pretty good now.
Well, you still have an issue if you unpower things, so we just avoid.
No, that's mostly been fixed.
Oh,
as far as I'm aware.
Okay, I hadn't heard anything. But yeah, the power switch is mostly weighted because they weren't sure about the design, and it's not frequently used entity. However, after this time, we didn't have any better ideas for the design, so we didn't want to change it significantly. Of course, we had other high priority things on our plate now, so reworking an infrequently used entity doesn't sound too problematic. Other than that, the 3D source file is a mess. Unsurprisingly, back in Friday Facts 102 is when V joined the team, so it was also the first thing he worked on.
There you go. That's when he joined, back in 2015.
Oh, yeah, a long time ago. And back then, I think this is V's infinite wisdom. Rather than he was trying to create a texture painting system where you could paint RGB masks instead of grayscale ones to control multiple channels at the same time. Which sounds a little bit of a horrible way of doing things, but I have no idea, really. And he later decided this was a really bad idea. Yeah, it wasn't useful as he thought, but it was more efficient for him to just get used to switching between textures. And unfortunately, this also caused something in Blender to go wrong, and the scene crashes frequently, which I know all about. I have a couple of projects in Vegas, my video editing software, that sometimes I can work on the project for about 3 or 4 hours without an issue. Other times, I open it, it crashes. I open it, it crashes. I open it, it runs for 5 minutes, then crash. Yeah, yeah.
Vegas is good at that.
Yeah, it is. So he says, luckily he was able to combine forces between Blender 2.8, which is the current version, where he could actually paint textures, but he couldn't render, and 2.79, where he could render, but not paint, which sounds...
It's convenient.
Horrible. Your first question is probably why they haven't updated to 2.8, as it's been out for quite a while now. And they say their workflow is quite specific, and early versions of 2.8 simply didn't support all the obscure features that they use. On top of that, they have lots of tools and scripts that would probably break in 2.8, and eventually it got so late in our development cycle, we just couldn't afford to be insecure about our software when 2.8 introduces all kinds of new changes. We're very much looking forward to switching to 2.8 after 1.0. So I use Blender to do the end screen for Patreon, and I know going from 2.7 to 2.8 that I have a couple of old projects that render like twice as fast in 2.8. There's a massive difference in speed wise. But yes, I can imagine with your whole workflow designed around them, updating is really risky.
Never update unless you need to.
Well,
If the workflow works.
That's my answer entirely, and Mojo yells at me every single time because I'm on OBS 23, which is like 2 major versions behind, I think you keep telling me.
Yeah, in the case of OBS, you actually do want to be updating.
But it's open source as well, and it just works, and I don't want to mess with my workflow, and yeah, like, updating comes with risks, and I fully understand just going, nope, it works, I don't need to update, I'll read the patch notes if there's something important, which is actually something I do with Factorio as well. If there's a patch note that introduces something important, and all my mods are already updated, I'll update. Otherwise, I'll stay in this version. I'm happy to sit in like, you know, point whatever version, 3 versions old of Factorio Experimental, because there's bug fixes that I haven't run into the bugs. I don't care. Or, you know, there's added more features for mods to interface with that I don't care about because none of my mods use them. That sort of stuff. So, yeah, we do have a picture of the new power switch, and yeah,
It's a thing.
It's a thing. It looks higher resolution. I'll give it that much.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've been trying to figure out why it looks a little off in the game scene. Some seems a bit off, and I can't quite pick what it is.
I think it's just the old one was really rusty. It was really rusty, and it was really beaten up, and
yeah, is the game style.
It was the game style, and the game style has changed in the last couple of years. Everything is a lot more cleaner than it used to be, and I don't know. I think functionally it looks exactly the same. We do have...
the fundamental ideas are still there.
He does show his original Blender image, and everything looks identical, right? The only thing is, we've added a couple of LEDs that weren't there in the past.
Which is a nice touch.
That's really about it. Right? Less rust.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's a really dark texture. It looks a bit off. Looks a bit different to the normal style.
I think...
it uses a similar style to the new substation, but the substation is much brighter. I think that's what it is.
I think the only thing I can say after looking at it is the right-hand side of the machine is very, very dark, but it's in shadow. The left-hand side of the machine is also very, very dark, and it's not in shadow.
But it's not in shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
it's very dark, but compared to everything else.
Yeah, substations have a lot of white on them. You're right, and this is more of a light blue color, and yeah, maybe the left-hand side needs to be brightened up a little bit, but then again, if he's having this much problem dealing with Blender,
it's probably fine.
Maybe not. Maybe we'll just ignore that one. But yeah, we got a new power switch, and we also have the Destroy version from their Remnant specialist, Dominic. By the way, power switch was actually one of the first entities that had a high-resolution sprites for, but they didn't standardize the high resolution for, I don't know, a year? At least, right? We're talking Friday Facts 100 and whatever it was, 104?
Well, that 104...
102.
102. So that was version, well into version 11.
Yeah, they didn't have
and the
high
power
res.
switch. Yeah, that predates high, because the first high res was 15 was when they really started pushing it.
15 is where they started re-releasing a lot of the graphics, updating a lot of the graphics. So yeah, it's it might have been made in high res, but it just didn't get there because they didn't standardize everything for quite some time. But look, it's great that it's in the game. It's one of the things that I got to admit, both of us have forgotten about. We've been going through, I've been going through at least, and looking through the data files and looking for things that don't have a HR tag on them. And I didn't even think to look for the power switch. Like, I know combinators
I completely overlooked it.
I know combinators were done not so long ago.
Combinators have been done several times.
Yeah, but they got a HR pass, and we had a Friday Facts about them where they got a HR pass because the wiring changed, where the wires hook up and all that sort of stuff got changed, everything else, that all got addressed. But yeah, a power switch, just didn't come to my head because V's entirely right. People just don't use it anymore.
Yeah, again, everyone was put off it back in 14 because of the UPS thing.
Yeah. So, with that said, I'm pretty sure that's it for this Friday Facts. It's a fairly short one.
That's it, yep.
Yeah, party, great. I don't know whether I can fly out of Australia currently, and it's a very, very expensive airfare from here to anywhere in Europe.
It's not practical.
Yeah, last time I think I looked, it was like over $1,000 one way. Airfares are cheap currently. That's probably my only thing, but it's still going to be nearly $1,000 one way. I have no idea how I'm getting home. So,
I think that's the cost of going to like Uganda and back.
Something like that. It's ridiculous. Flying out of Australia to anywhere is very expensive. We do live on an island. Anyway, with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys in next week, which will be 5 weeks to go.
5 fifths to launch.
Yeah, 360 is the big one.
Yep.
It's getting close. Anyway, that's it. We're out. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.